Zack Polanski has played a blind in the first month of his leadership. He's doubled membership. People are attacking him from right and centre. They have very little on him, mostly personal attacks. They can't attack his policies because they're popular. They have very little on him and they don't know how to deal with him. In this Lewis Goodall interview, he exposes Nigel Farage's fake populism and offers the green alternative. Let's get straight into the video because it's a good one.
Win people over.
You would describe yourself as a populist?
So I think we need to define populism. You describe Nigel Farage as a populist, which is fair enough. Lots of people do, I think, including himself. He's not a populist. He's not a patriot either. So let's start with patriots. Patriots love their country. They want to invest in the country. They want to make sure that the local services are run in the local community area. They're not selling this country off to foreign investors. Then they've not got people within their MEP team who are found guilty on corruption and bribery charges with Russia and then keep changing that story. That's not patriotism. And it's not populism either. Populism is the 99% versus the 1%. Nigel Farage says he's a man of the people, but he's a man of the wealthy people. He literally wants to represent those 1%. So he can call himself a populist all he likes. He's bastardizing the word. The reason why I'm taking populist back is because what I want to see is working class communities alongside small business owners, people who don't work, disabled people, migrants, trans people, all the kind of culture war nonsense, and say, let's cut through that nonsense and recognize we have so much more in common. And the real problem here is a small elite group of people who largely own the media, who largely are donating to political parties, who are trying to distract and divide us.
It's interesting. I suppose a different view of populism is that populism fundamentally is about saying that there are a group of elites who are out to screw you, and we need to attack those elites and attack the institutions that are often dominated by those elites. I suppose, in
I
a
don't
sense,
think that's populism, though.
Well, I think it is a form. I mean, look, we can, as you say, we can argue all day about what populism is, but that's certainly one definition of populism. And you could say that that is something that does unite you with Farage. It's just that you're attacking a different sort of elite. You're saying the elites that he cares about, right, are basically cultural elites, right? He claims that what's happened to Britain is it's become dominated by people like, he would say, you and me, sort of liberal, cultural liberals, whatever, and they are in some way culturally alienating and do not represent the ordinary people of Britain. That's his critique. What you're saying is that there is an elite problem in Britain, but it's an economic elite problem, and Farage embodies that elite. So you are populist. You're just concerned about a different form of elites.
Well, I'd say he's not a populist because, again, it's that.
You think he's a fake populist?
Well, if he's saying the 1% if he's saying we're the 1%, then sure, he's a populist. But I think that's clearly absurd. We are not the 1%, right? And so,
well, his argument is that basically cultural liberals over many decades have pursued their own political priorities, including mass immigration and so on, and therefore have basically not represented the ordinary, authentic people of Britain and not represented them in what they want.
Which is a false narrative anyway, because businesses heavily rely on immigration. Donald Trump literally does. His businesses, his construction, maintenance, cleaners. It's just a lie. It's just a blatant lie. And that's what needs to be called out. And that's what Zack is doing. Trump knows he's lying. Farage knows he's lying. It's just a means of, it's what the National Socialists did. Lie, this fake populism. Oh, we care about the workers. We care about, the cultural elites. No, it's just a means to demonize and gain power. That's it. And Zack is the right antidote to that.
well, there's some intersecting conversations here, aren't there? Because I think, as with Farage, there's always some truth to what he says, and I think that's why he's often enormously popular. He's recognizing what's going on in the country.
Is there anything you admire about him?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say admire, but I think something we can all learn from, those of us on the left or progressive people, is the way he connects with people's everyday experiences and their fears. The difference is, though, his solutions will often cause more division and actually make things worse. And they're often a house of cards built on lies. Ultimately, it all collapses. And I think that's why Farage and Reform are going after me so hard right now, because I'm someone that will look them in the eye and I will challenge them on their lies, and I will bring statistics and evidence to the argument, to every single argument. And I think they're really nervous about that because for a long time they've just got away with kind of. I was on TV with Carol Malone yesterday, and it really struck me. Not that she's in Reform, this is the Daily Express journalist. And when met with information in a calm way, She literally, and this is, anyone can go find the clip, she's just literally screaming at me. Her strategy is to not let me talk because she realizes
You
that
have
the kind
received extraordinary opprobrium from them in the last sort of since you became leader, and particularly anybody who's seen the sort of digital content that has been sort of pouring out. It is very, very interesting. Why do you think that is? Because on one level, you could say, look, very often when these sorts of groups see they could see you as a fellow traveller in one sense. They
Yeah.
could say, look, this is a guy, we don't agree with this guy's prescription, but in a sense he kind of shares our diagnosis, which is that there's a sort of elite problem. The whole country is kind of it's not being represented properly by the old duopoly, the Labour Party, the Conservative Party, and whatever. So they could almost see you as a kind of fellow traveller against the establishment, but they don't. They really don't.
Sargon tried to do that with this like faux, like, oh, we need more Polanski. I'm great. I'm glad that he's, gaining prominence. No, he fears him because Polanski is popular. He genuinely has an economic populism that is alternative and a real challenge to reform and the right. They don't want to hear it. They don't want people exposed to this, like hopeful politics that isn't based on division. Of course they don't. And also, the attacks they have on him are just all personal. Oh, his name, he changed his name to kind of take back his Jewish heritage. Seems anti Semitic to me. But, they moan about anti Semitism and say, oh, the left are anti. They have nothing on him. Literally nothing on him. That's why they're terrified. Because they can't attack his policy because it's popular. They can't attack him because what do they have? They have nothing, essentially.
They have been going for you hard. What do you think that the reason for that is?
Yeah, I think they're partly confused. It was interesting on Question Time. Zia Youssef used the phrase, you might be surging in the polls, Zach. And I thought people don't use phrases like that by accident. That's been playing on his mind, that the Greens are surging in the polls. That's something they've been talking about in their meetings. It's also interesting, The Spectator, just yesterday alone, I think, released 3 hit pieces on me in one day. 3 pieces in one day. And then you've got a Labour government that don't seem to know what to do with me. Both the Prime Minister and I think it was Sadiq Khan accused me of doing student politics or sixth form politics. Sadiq Khan, at the same time, though, when I was elected, he had a much more sensible approach. On the first day we were in public together, he said that he doesn't think he's seen someone enjoy a campaign so much. And I think he recognises that the positivity and hope I'm bringing is exactly how we should be campaigning right now. It's part of the way to challenge the far right, is not what Labour are doing, which is to appease them or even to occupy the same space sometimes, but actually to go, what does a tangible alternative look like that's built on hope and positivity, but isn't kind of abstract and in the air, but actually has policies and an actual plan to say, this is how we're going to take on the far right in this country. And so I think whether it's Reform or Labour, I think they don't quite know what to do with me. And it's that thing of, we saw some of this with leaders in the past too, where on one day I'm being painted as a clown that's incompetent and they don't know what to do with me. And on other days I'm a very dangerous Machiavellian man.
How's it been dealing with it? Because you are a relative ingenue to sort of national politics in this way. As you say, it's only been 35 days. You generated a huge amount of attention, which is to your political credit. You probably generated more attention than, I would say, every leader of the Green Party up to you combined, probably in 35 days or so. But it does come with a cost, and it does come with all of this attention, which has not been quite so positive. A lot of hit pieces, you say. How are you dealing with that?
Every time it happens, it propels me on, genuinely. I just think the worst thing would have been to be ignored. And actually, the second worst thing would have been...
Do you think they fear you?
I think they do. And I think they're right to fear us. We're about to overtake the Tories in membership. So we're at 110,000. The Tories are supposedly at 123,000, although Adam Ramsey, the Guardian journalist, has been doing some interesting work that looks at the amount of money the Tories have from membership, and it doesn't equal 123,000. So I think there's real questions for the Tories.
Okay, of course they fear Zack Polanski because it contradicts their bullshit, their lies, which they know they're lying. They know that immigration, trans, woke, it's all a means of distracting from the billionaires. And they know that. They know the culture wars are bullshit. They know that attacking migrants and small boats doesn't solve any economic issues. And when you call that out, it's actually really powerful. When a politician actually challenges Nigel Farage and his lies, believe it or not, it's really fucking powerful. Who would have thought?
About what is your membership numbers, but as soon as we've overtaken the Tories, we're coming for Labour next, and I think Labour know we're coming for them, particularly next May at the local elections. It's really interesting. Before we even get there, I can be winning as Green Party leader and the left can be winning. Because Keir Starmer must be looking at those May elections and going electorally, this is going to be an absolute massacre. The Green Party are absolutely coming for us on the left. So at this budget, they need to make sure there's some concessions to the left. And as soon as those concessions start to come, we're already winning without winning the seats. Now, of course, I want to win the seats. That's the point. But actually, the point of winning the seats in the first place was to get change in this
Do
country.
you see yourself as a sort of reform party for the left, in the sense that something that Farage has done, not just with reform, with the Brexit Party, hitherto UKIP, is he has sort of acted as a magnet for the Conservative Party over 10, 15 years. He has gradually, through his electoral success, periodically, intermittently, he's gradually morphed the Conservative Party pretty much into his own image, and yet despite that has now at the point potentially of overcoming it, perhaps even destroying it, certainly permanently weakening it. Do you see your project as a version of that for the Labour Party?
No, because I think what's going to undo Nigel Farage's project, and I'll explain how the Greens are different, is the Doge whole thing, or dodgy thing, is very revealing. So in Kent, they sent Zia Youssef and the whole Doge unit to go make cuts at the council level.
Yes, it didn't work.
And then in the end, they've had to go with a begging bowl to national government and say this isn't working. There wasn't actually these unnecessary diversity projects or whatever they thought was there to cut. And so again, their project is built on lies. So when it gets put under the spotlight, there's nowhere to go. The Greens,
And we've seen that in America as well. Doge's a complete failure. They've increased deficit spending. The Big Beautiful Bill increases spending massively. So they're not cutting anything. It's making it worse. And that's what we're seeing in local councils, council tax rising to 5% in Kent, more than the Tories. It's just so pathetic. And people know that Farage, your average person, he's quite a divisive figure. Most people know Farage is a fraud. We just need to convince enough people that he's a fraud.
very different to that. Do we have a fully formed project for government? I won't be disingenuous. No, we don't. You know, if I was suddenly to be in government tomorrow, I think that would be a rocky road.
Will you be going into the election hoping to be Prime Minister, or saying you think you could be Prime Minister?
I'm definitely not Joe Swinsoning this. And also, I think without that experience of government, I think that would be unwise. What I am saying, though, is I believe we have the credibility at the local level, certainly where we're running administrations and getting better and better.
Would you like to be in government in some form?
Yeah, I absolutely want
You'd
to
like
see
to be in some
government.
form of coalition government?
For sure. I think that's...
Could you imagine supporting Keir Starmer as Prime Minister?
Absolutely not.
Are there any circumstances?
Not while the ongoing genocide is happening, not while... because I think the history of how Keir Starmer has been as Prime Minister, I think he has broken trust so much with both the left, but more importantly, the wider country.
Is there anything you admire about him?
Keir Starmer?
Mm-hmm.
So, weirdly, I know Keir Starmer fairly well,
really?
because we had lots of debates together in 2015 when I was a Lib Dem, so no one in the Lib Dems could find anyone who wanted to go debate. So my first debate ever in political history was against Keir Starmer and Natalie Bennett.
Really?
And actually, this was the start of me becoming
Natalie
a Green.
Bennett, one of your predecessors.
Yeah, who's former leader. So I went home to my boyfriend during that debate and said to him, the Greens are quite right about everything. Like, I'd never really considered themselves as a party. And then me and Keir Starmer had several debates together where Natalie Bennett and Sian Berry, the other former leader of the party, rotated. And it was then when I got really talking to Sian, talking about Green values, I was like, actually, I'd be much more at home in the Green Party. So I was only in the
Keir
Lib Dems.
Starmer is sort of responsible for you becoming a Green.
And what was interesting in that very...
And on that ironic level, Keir Starmer will be responsible for the Greens doing really well. The defections that may happen, I assume some will happen, and the surge in the polls, Greens ahead of Labour for the first time, increasing numbers, people are going to move from the Labour Party, Lib Dems, to the Green Party, maybe even Reform. So, if you haven't already, join the Green Party, let's get rid of Labour. Keir Starmer is done. He's going to kill Labour. What comes in next? Do you want a Reform Party or do you want a Green alternative? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Well, there you go. See you in the next video.